Hello and welcome to the PHI Connect Skills Assigning Permissions for Mentors and Base Educators. So before assigning any permissions, we first need to understand the difference between level versus groups permissions. As we see on the screen here, we are under a member's profile. As indicated here, the level permission is set to member. This can also be set to supervisor, manager, or admin. This level access grants permissions throughout the PHI Connect site. It is worth noting that a member only has access on the skills section to clinical opportunities, which includes the clinical experience log and innovation log. As a supervisory level, which includes air medical based supervisors and clinical education coordinators, have the ability to access all skills forms and also has the ability to edit or delete any of those forms on others' profiles. So to make it easier for clinical education coordinators and air medical based supervisors to assign mentors, base educators, or remove their permissions, we have utilized the groups section to allow these permissions without having to create an IT system access request. So what groups are available for us to set permissions for? These include clinical base educator and clinical mentor. The clinical base educator has certain access permissions to certain categories. This gives them access to clinical competencies, while a clinical mentor gets access to clinical competencies and new hire onboarding forms. To get a better understanding of how these groups permissions work, let's take a look at the process. As you can see here, I am logged in as the test nurse. So to access skills, I would go to members, then skills, and add a skill. From here, I will select my name and see that under the skill selection, the only skills I have available is clinical experience and innovation log under the clinical opportunities category. Now let's say the test nurse has now become a mentor. As you can see now, we are logged in as an air medical based supervisor. So we need to give the test nurse permissions to be a mentor and see the additional categories. To do this, first on the left hand side of the screen, we will go to members and information. Under here, we will find the member's profile that we want to change. In this case, it's the test nurse. We'll search nurse and click on their profile name. As we can see here, they have no groups assignments for clinical mentor or educator. We'll go to the top left and click on edit. As you start to scroll through the member's profile, you will see a section called groups. It is worth noting that in this group, there is a radio button and a checkbox. You should never use the radio button, which changes the primary group assignment of the member. This will affect the scheduling system. Therefore, never use the radio button. Only use the checkbox. So we want to assign them as a mentor. So we'll start to scroll down. We see here clinical base educator and clinical mentor. We'll click the check box for the mentor. After that, you can simply scroll to the very bottom of the page or the top and click Submit Changes. Once you submit, you'll be taken back to the member's profile, and you can now verify that they are in the clinical mentor group. Now that we have logged back in to the nurse profile, we can now go to Members, Skills, Add Skill. As we can see here, the member is a different name. So if we go to Skill Selection, we can now see that they have access to the clinical competencies and all new hire onboarding paperwork. Now that we've seen how to add permissions to a member, we also need to know how to remove them. For example, let's say the test nurse is no longer a mentor. To do this, we'll log back in as the air medical base supervisor. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we will go to Members and Information. In Information, again, we'll search for the user. and click on their profile. From here, we can see that they are still assigned to the Clinical Mentor group. We can simply click the Edit button, scroll back down to our group section, and scroll to Clinical Mentor and uncheck the box. You can either scroll to the very bottom of the page or to the top and click Submit Changes. As we can see here, they have now been removed from the Clinical Mentor groups, which has now removed their permissions to access any of the clinical competencies or new hire onboarding. And as we can see here, if we log back into the test nurse and go to members and skills and add skill, under another user, they have no option of skill selection unless they enter their name, and now they have the ability to see their clinical experience and innovation log, and permissions have been properly removed.